Well, hello and welcome to another amazing guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. My name is Moshe Amsal, and we're going to be jumping into one specific little tiny island on social media called LinkedIn today. And I'm excited because for a long time, I have been harping on LinkedIn to my clients, and we don't talk enough about it here on the podcast. And it is really a massively untapped opportunity. So many people are sitting on Facebook, on Instagram, or maybe you're not on social at all. And you're trying to grow your business. You're trying to bring in new customers. You're trying to grow your team, and there is a lot of potential. But I am not the authority on LinkedIn. So we brought in a guest for you that is going to really knock your socks off and tell us what we really need to know about LinkedIn. I mean, we're talking about um, what you need to do for visibility for you, but also how do you use LinkedIn powerfully with your team. I mean, imagine if you have an army of people out there drumming up business for you because they're already on your staff. There's already stuff they could be doing. That's where we're going to be going today with Donna Serdula. So Donna is the founder and president of Vision Board Media. Her website is linkedinmakeover.com. So I love that name. Professional branding company that helps individuals and companies tell their unique stories on LinkedIn and beyond, bringing dynamic brand storytelling to the masses and empowering people to dream big. That's the ink in her pen. It's her website, linkedin-makeover.com, where she and her team to over 20 writers and coaches help people collide with opportunity and transform their lives via future-forward career branding. She has authored 2 editions of LinkedIn Profile Optimization for Dummies. I love it. You're an author with a very well-known brand. Donna, welcome to the show.
Oh, Moshe, thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure, and I'm really excited to jump into this conversation. But before we do, first thing I like to do with any guest I have on the show is to get a little personal. Give us the story. How in the world did you become the LinkedIn queen? And what was your journey up until there? Or just tell us something about yourself that you think is important for our listeners to know.
Yeah, I got on LinkedIn back in 2005. Do you remember when you joined?
I don't know. Is there a way for me to look that up?
Yeah,
Probably
actually
before
there is.
2005.
It started in like 2002, 2003. That's really when the doors opened. So I wasn't exactly an early adopter of LinkedIn, but I joined in 2005. And, oh my gosh, that's like a lifetime ago. But it was in those early days, I didn't see much use for LinkedIn. I thought it was rather useless. I had copied and pasted my resume into the LinkedIn fields, thinking, hey, this is what it's supposed to be, and nothing happened. I did pivot shortly thereafter into a oh my gosh, like high pressured sales environment type of role. And I I was building a book of business, I'm like prospecting, I'm cold calling, I'm dialing for dollars. And I started to see, LinkedIn becoming a tool. It was something that I kept going to. I was looking up people that I was calling, before meetings, after meetings. I'm checking to see who these people were. And that was really what got me, thinking about LinkedIn as a real, became a game changer for me. What really changed the game was when I started to realize that just as I was looking at other people, people were looking at me. And how did I look? What was I saying? And my profile looked like a resume. And I realized people want to know more. They don't want a resume. I mean, most people are job seekers, right? We're looking for business. We're looking for clients. We're looking for opportunities and connections. We want to build a network that's going to work for us. And just copying this dull, dry, out of date resume wasn't doing it. And so when I started to optimize, I started to see I was attracting, a better network. I was attracting better clientele. And that to me was the real big epiphany. It was like, wait, this is not a resume. It's a reputation engine. It's a place for my brand to really sit and be a beacon. It was in 2009 that I used that to say, if I needed help, and now that I get it, I want to help other people. And it was in 2009 that I started my business. We started writing LinkedIn profiles. We've been doing it now for what, 15 years almost. We've helped over 8,000 executives and entrepreneurs and professionals from all over the world. And that's my story in a slightly bigger nutshell than maybe what you were asking.
Awesome. No, it's perfect. It's perfect, and I love it. I love the background, and I am blown away by what I just found out because while you were talking, I went and figured out how to check when I joined LinkedIn. And I thought that I would have been like an early adopter because I was in IT. I mean, like I used to be a Microsoft certified professional back in the day. So you would think that I would have joined LinkedIn the moment it started. I joined in 2012, a full 7 years after you did. So, yeah, my thought process of how early adopter I was is way off base. So, really interesting. But for those of you who want to know how to find it, when you join LinkedIn, you can go into your privacy and security settings and data privacy. Just go to the last page and it has you join LinkedIn with a date. For me, it's July 18, 2012. Interesting nugget, nothing useful for you in building your firm. So let's get around to a conversation that will be useful for you. Tell me, Donna, what
Yes.
is the number one mistake you see businesses making when it comes to their approach or usage of LinkedIn?
The number one mistake I think most firms make is they worry simply about their own company page, or maybe just the principal's um, profile, and they don't think about how it extends throughout the company and ripples throughout the company. And so it is important to look at those employees, those partners, those whatever, who are public facing. How are they projecting? What are they saying? What are they putting out there? Because so often, I people will come to me and they'll say, Donna, we're really having a hard time recruiting. We're getting people, but they're not rock stars. They're not top tier talent. What's going on? And I look at their profile. Their profile looks great. Maybe even their company page looks great. But then I start to look at the employees, and the employees all look like they're looking for other work because they've copied and pasted a resume. And it's, well, there you go. This is a big red flag. Why would someone want to come and work if everybody looks like they're looking to get out? Right. So that's one of the big things is not looking at the complete picture.
Yeah, it's very interesting because we don't think of our employees and their social media profile as being something that we are entitled to or we have a say in. But the reality is that you can very easily turn to your team and say, look, our LinkedIn visibility for our business is going to be directly tied to the connections that you have and the things that you post. So when we post something on the business page, we want everybody to go and share it. We
Yeah.
want everybody to go and tag people that are appropriate. We want everybody to use, we use a tool called Duck Soup to automate connection requests. Imagine if everyone on your team was using the same tool to build their connection. So it's not just you, but it's also everyone on your team. Now, of course, there's a risk to that, right? Because if they are looking, then you've basically just given them the tool to go find their next thing, right? But I it's definitely something that I have not encouraged anybody in my world to do, and we don't even internally focus on this.
Mhm.
Like we're guilty of as charged in-house. Like the only
Yeah.
thing we've been focusing on is my own personal profile.
Yeah. Well, and Moshe, what most people say to me, most leaders within, companies, organizations, small businesses, they'll say to me, "Oh, Donna, I don't want my employees to look good, because if they look good, they'll get poached. They'll get poached, and I don't want that." But the truth of the matter is, there are ways of optimizing a profile in which we're optimizing it for prospects, for lead gen, right? For reputation management, for branding purposes, and not for job search. It's really how you decide to tell the story, the context that you use, and the keywords that you utilize contextually throughout the content. That's what determines the likelihood of the types of searches you're going to pop up in, right? So there's this idea like, oh, if we optimize a profile, they're going to get found by recruiters. That's not true, because it depends on how we optimize it. And what might actually happen, it's not even might, but what will happen is maybe clients are searching and they want to find someone, like those who work at your firm. They're going to collide with them because it's the right keywords.
I love that. And you keep saying this word optimize your profile. So I want to start there because I don't think that we know what you mean, right? And um I'm sure that optimizing the profile is different for the business owner versus the employees on the team. So take us through just the broad strokes of what does that mean to optimize your profile, and when we do that, what is the expected result? In other words, why should
Yeah.
somebody focus on optimizing their profile?
Yeah. I think a lot of times when people think, oh, let's optimize the profile, in their mind, they think, let me make this profile look good. Let me make it look good. How can I make it look good? Well, no one wants to write, right? No one wants to write. And then to write about yourself, oh, that's even worse. And so most times what will happen is that person will then copy and paste an old bio or like, a resume, or they'll generate something and they'll just smack it in there without any real thought. And so optimization is first saying, okay, what is the goal? Why am I trying to do this? Who is my target audience? And what are the keywords that I want to be found for? Right? Those are three very important pieces of the optimization. You need to know it because if you're looking for a job versus trying to find clients, the story is different, the keywords are different, and the target audience is completely different. So you need to identify that. Then, once you know this, then you want to look at the profile and it needs to be written strategically to your goals, to your target audience. And it's not just something that you can copy and paste from someplace. It really does. You need to be thoughtful and you need to write it in a manner that's going to convert, make these people say, hey, this is someone I want to look at and talk to, and I feel good about them. And, when we look at it in terms of a company, there's another piece to this, and that is how can we take the company message? How can we take the company brand and weave it in so you are presenting something that's unified and cohesive, but at the same time, that unique individual is spotlighted.
So, are you referring to the description in the profile, like the text in the body of the profile when somebody
Oh,
goes and looks on it? Like
I'm
what
talking
exactly are
about,
we
yeah,
talking
I'm
about?
talking about from the very top to the very bottom. So it'll start with the background graphic. It then moves on to the profile picture, to the headline, to the featured section, to the about section, to the trajectory through the experiences, right down straight through. You want to really think and say, who am I? What do I want to reveal? What do I want to be known for? How do I want to be perceived? What is this company? How do I want to bring in the company messaging? But even more so, who is that target audience? What do they need to know? And thinking about this, really, saying what differentiates me? What is my specialty? What do I want to be known for? How do I help? Why am I doing this? All of these things come into play. But when you create a profile, again, from top to bottom, from the headline to the about to the experiences, and then all of the other things in there, the certifications, the publications. I mean, my gosh, when we think of, Facebook, or we think of Instagram, right? Those about pages are so small. There's really not much you can do there. But the LinkedIn, oh my gosh, it's amazing how robust it is and how extensive it can be. But when you do it and you do it right, you're going to find that one, your network grows, people want to connect with you. Two, you're going to find that you're turning up in more searches. And you're turning up in more searches because you're having more views to your profile. And not only that, you're getting more inbound hits. You're also finding, and this is something that's not something that you see specifically, but it's something that you start to feel. And that is you start to forge a rapport with people sooner and easier. People seem to have a bit more respect for you, or you don't have to work as hard to prove who you are, because what happens is people are looking at the profile and they're seeing a very cultivated brand image that's impressive. It builds confidence, and they're now looking and talking to you the way they should have been from the very, very beginning.
So, you mentioned the featured section, and
Mm-hmm.
this is something that has always, baffled me. Like, what's the best thing that you should be having in the featured section? Like, how do you determine what are the, because what does it have, like three or five articles or things that you put in
Yeah,
there?
you can see
Um,
three, but it becomes a carousel. And so you can actually add 10 or 12 if you wanted to, but you're not going to see all of them at once. It does become a carousel and you'd have to click.
so I mean, if you're trying to be strategic with your profile, what do you want to put in there?
Yeah. You want to say to yourself, what's going to help me? What's going to help me tell my story, but what's going to help my audience see me with greater sense of who I am and what I do. So for an attorney, perhaps it might be a link back to the firm's website. Maybe it's a link back to their bio page, or maybe they have a online portfolio that lists all their cases and all their stuff. That would be great there. It could be maybe you've done a speaking engagement and you have a video of that on YouTube. Put that in there. There's no right or wrong, but you really want to think to yourself, what do I want people to see? And let me put it all in there. Let me pack it. Now, again, the top three, the first three, those are the big items. And LinkedIn doesn't want those items to stay and get stale. So you do want to think about it where what's new, what's happened, what are you proud of? Is there a publication? Were you in an article in a magazine? Were you featured in a newspaper? Whatever. But you want to keep updating it and always have something new and something fresh, but something that truly, showcases who you are outside of LinkedIn, somewhere else on the web.
Now you mentioned linking to YouTube. I know on Facebook, if you link to YouTube, that you get no traction with that because they don't want you going off platform. How does that work with LinkedIn and in this featured section? Can you just link
Yeah.
to a YouTube video that's
Yeah.
on YouTube and no worries with that?
Yeah. So if you are on the LinkedIn feed and you're thinking, let me post something today, and you post a link to anything, actually, it doesn't even have to be YouTube, but anything that's an external link, those typically don't do well. And that's why you see posts that say, see link in first comment. It's their
Right.
way of getting beyond that. But as it pertains to the profile, I've never seen any issue with linking to a PDF or a YouTube video or an external website. They don't seem to have any issue with that on the profile.
Interesting. Okay. So I understand profile optimization as you describe it. How do we use LinkedIn to proactively try to get business? I mean, honestly, like, what is the purpose of being there? The purpose of
Mhm.
being there is either to get new customers or to get validation for somebody who's thinking of becoming a customer, right? So the whole purpose of having it out there is because I want to grow my top line. So
Yeah.
what are some strategies that we can use using LinkedIn to try to promote that effort?
Yeah. One of the things is, of course, make sure that that profile is optimized. It's written to your target audience. It's not a copy and paste of your resume. Very important. But let's say you've got that done, right? Next up, you want to grow your network. So often people will come to me and they'll say, Tom, I'm not having any success on LinkedIn. It's like I'm on there and nothing's happening. I look at the number of their network and it's like 100 people. It's just not enough. You do need to have a strong network in order to really get any traction on LinkedIn. So you really need to spend time connecting not just with your current network, but the network from your past as well. So, it doesn't matter if these are people who are no longer, in your area or no longer who you would consider a direct client. Just connect with all of these people that you've known, you've met, you're meeting along the way. Keep connecting. That's a huge aspect of LinkedIn, is always to be connecting. Once you're connecting, you have a nice network. What's a good network size? 500 plus. LinkedIn stops counting at that point, but 500 does seem to be that number where people start to find traction. You want to keep building, though. You don't want that to be the end all. Once you have that network built, now you want to start to get active. And you can get active in a number of different ways, one of which is, going on and posting once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever you can handle. But post information, show up so people will see you. You also want to get active in the comments. You want to maybe think, who are my clients or who are my potential prospects? Who are people who may refer me, who could help me? Identify who they are and pop into their posts and comment. All right. So it's that drip feed marketing where you keep showing up on people's radar, that they know who you are. And when someone hears, oh, I need, an attorney, whatever, they're gonna refer you. So it's that level of getting active. We can go in a little further, and you could use LinkedIn as a database, and you can find people who would be perfect clients for you, and start to forge a relationship through the messaging.
Any tips on forging a relationship? I mean, you know, getting a connection request is like obviously a connection request accepted is obviously the first step, right?
Mhm.
But so many times once I connect with somebody and then I try to communicate with them,
Mhm.
it's crickets, right? There's no response. They're either not on LinkedIn actively, they're not monitoring their messaging, or they're ignoring me, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's so hard to, you can't have a relationship that's one way, right? And
Right.
otherwise you're just screaming at them. We need to have a two-way conversation. Anything that you have found that works in getting somebody to respond and come to the table in that two-way
Yeah.
conversation?
There is one thing that's really important, and that is the person active on LinkedIn? If they're not active on LinkedIn, there's nothing you can do. You could have the best, greatest message, and if they're not seeing it, if they're not reading it, you're out of luck. So, in this situation, let's assume that the person is active on LinkedIn. They're checking with some regularity. Maybe they're posting, maybe they're commenting. But what you want to do is, start to see what is their activity on LinkedIn. And maybe it's something that you can find a way of intersecting with. So if they do post, jump into the comments, add something of value. If they comment, respond to their comments on another person's post. Maybe it's first forging a relationship before you ask for business, right? A lot of times people like to make that leapfrog. They want to leapfrog it and just say, just like a kid on a playground, hey, you want to be my friend? Well, I don't know you. Let's play a little bit together. Let's intersect a few times. Let's get familiar with each other, and then we can start discussing that. And so oftentimes what I find is a person's like, I'm not getting any response. Are you hitting too hard with the sales? Are you pitch slapping?
Right.
you know, and that often is the case. So LinkedIn isn't a place where they don't want it to be transactional. They want it to be something where you are actively creating relationships. You're on there. You're adding value. You're educating. You're having fun. And when you do it, it's not this thing where you get on and immediately the sales come. I wish it was. It really isn't. But if you do it with that belief that, hey, I'm going to get on here and I'm going to do good. I'm going to help people. Business comes, and I mean, it really does come, and it comes for the long haul. But you do have to, feed it, and you feed it through goodwill. You feed it through value. You feed it through building your network, being there, thinking of people, reaching out to them. And also, there is nothing wrong with going through your network and sending them, hey, just thinking about you, what's going on, seeing what's up. It's those types of things. It's it really does work, but it is a much longer term commitment.
Something that you shared really got me thinking because we internally here we have a LinkedIn tactic that we use, and basically it's going after the masses, right? So like I'm going to send out connection requests on a regular basis. I'm just going to send out this messaging sequence, and when somebody responds, then I'm going to interact with them. And something that you mentioned really got me thinking, and that is, go and forge that relationship before you try to connect with them. Go find things that they're saying online, put comment on it, like it, react to it, get visible to them before doing that.
Mhm.
And you can't do that in mass. but it forces you to really think about who are the people that I think are going to be the most likely to be good connections for me to either be a connector that, I think they're gonna, if I'm connected with them, that they might, their visibility might bring me business, or they're a potential client for me. And Russell Brunson, well-known marketer, I'm sure you know who he is.
Mhm.
Um, he talks about this concept that he heard from Chet Holmes, which is the Dream 100, to basically make this list of 100. And it works with anything. Like if I want to go and be a guest on somebody's podcast this year, like that's my goal. I'm going to make a list of the Dream 100. What are the top 100 podcasts that I want to be on? And we're going
Yeah.
to try and get on those podcasts. Here we can use that same concept. And I can make a list of my Dream 100 people that I want to connect with in 2024. And
Yeah.
now I'm simply going to every week, I'm going to take just a segment of that list and I'm going to try to interact with people and start to build that. And then over time, see if I get better results with that than with, going for the masses. So I really like what you shared,
Mhm.
in that it got me thinking that, like, sometimes quality over quantity is the way to go. And
That's
we get
that right
so
there.
yeah, we get so entrenched in the digital marketing arena that it's always like, put out a net as far as you can cast, and hopefully you'll snag a few fish. And the reality is that, sometimes it's not that, right? That so many people are trying to, like, win on digital, but what if it's just a matter of sponsoring a local 5K that's going to get you the visibility you need to bring in the next client? And we kind of forget that human to human marketing is probably going to win every time. And we tend to replace that instead of finding ways to augment it.
Yeah. And the other thing, Moshe, to think in terms of is with LinkedIn, if you are posting, right, you may be surprised at the sheer amount of people that you are touching. A lot of people on LinkedIn are very quiet. They're more voyeurs, they're more lurkers. They're there, but they're paying attention. And when the time comes and they need your services, they're going to reach out. And you may not even recognize how many people you're touching, especially on LinkedIn. I myself am often just flabbergasted when people reach out. I've been following you for years. You've really helped my career, and now I'm ready to work with you. Or I've been secretly referring you to everyone that I know. But I've always said, don't tell them who sent you. You know, but it's one of those things. I do think you want to have almost like that. Maybe it's like that iceberg where there's the top group that you are actively, working with and having those touch points. But recognize that, your activity is going to continue to ripple out, and it is affecting people.
Yeah, I love that. Now, we're well into this conversation, and we only have a few minutes left. What have we not talked about that is crucial for our audience to know when it comes to LinkedIn? There's got to be something that we haven't discussed yet that you're like, wait a second. If we don't talk about this, then we've missed the boat.
Well, we've talked about some really big points, right? We've talked about knowing your goal, having that strategy, really understanding the keywords. We talked about the importance of building your network, absolutely vital. In order to amplify, you need to have that network. And I think we also talked about, the prospecting and reaching out to people. And even though I have met, I've mentioned this over and over and over again, I do think you want to really think about your own, communication strategy on LinkedIn, and think of it as it relates to your company, but also yourself, right? And make sure you recognize what are your topics, and start to post and figure out what is doable. There are so many people out there, Moshe, that are saying post every day, post every day. That's easy to say when you've got a huge team behind you, or if you're really not that successful and you don't have a lot of clients. So, if for most average users of LinkedIn, posting every day is just not possible. It's not. But figure out what is. Is it once a week? Is it even once every 2 weeks? I'd rather it be once a week. But if hey, if you can do it and you can do it consistently, post, every 2 weeks. And think in terms of how can I share, how can I share the story? My story, why am I doing this? Who am I? Think more human, right? Because there is such a proliferation of AI generated content that is soulless. It's vapid. And how can you, if you're going to do it once and you're going to do it really well, how can you create something that's going to touch people and educate them and add value and help them? And maybe it is, what are you doing and how are you helping? What's your specialty? What do you know more than anything else? And can you start to educate? Always thinking about your target audience, right? And I think if you can do that, if you can say, look, I am going to truly just once a week, once every 2 weeks, I'm going to create something that I'm proud of, that I know is valuable. It's not going to take long. It's not going to take long for people to notice, for them to interact, and for you to start to see a boom.
Awesome. I love that. And also really, talking to me where my own challenges are. Yeah, I have a team. They're posting on LinkedIn for me, but I know that if I post, it's different than my team
Mm-hmm.
posting, right? They're
Yeah.
taking a boilerplate, here's a podcast replay, here's a YouTube thing we created. Yeah, here's the description that goes with it, and I'm going to post it on Moshe's profile, right? Where if I post, it's going to be something thought out. It's going to be something that is going to lean on my own experiences, my own stories, and I'm going to write something about that. And people know, like they know that it's a more personal post, but I'm not doing it because if I if I commit, it means that I need to go in every day. And I love that you said, hey, you don't need to. Just figure out a consistent schedule that is going to work.
Yeah.
Um, same thing with this podcast, right? Like we release a new episode every week. We could release a new episode every day, but if we committed to that, it would be a full-time job, right? And uh, it's great if I have a podcast personality on my team who's doing it, but I don't have the time to do that. So I do what I'm able to commit to, and I think that if there's a takeaway from this, and this is not just for LinkedIn, it's really for anything that you do that's visibility related, right? Getting your name out there is consistency is key. And it doesn't matter if it's consistency, like if you're sponsoring a 5K, sponsor the same damn 5K every single year, right? So the
Mhm.
people who are showing up in year one see your name in year two and they're like, oh yeah, they sponsored last year. Hey, they sponsored this year again in year three. And now all of a sudden I have something, I've got it's a personal injury firm and I just got into an accident. Who am I calling? It's the firm that I saw at the last three 5Ks that I just did. So that also tells you like sometimes you need to be patient and the stuff will work eventually. But at the same time, you gotta be consistent with whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's once a year, once a week, once a month, and stick with it. So really love that as a nugget. Now, when we close out, there's two things I ask every guest to do, and that is first, what's one parting piece of advice or wisdom that you want to share with our audience? Second, how can they get in touch with you if they want to you resonated with them, uh, they want to consider doing business with you or figuring out
Mhm.
how they can learn more about what you do.
Sure. I think my what I'd like to leave people with is I often hear it where a person will say, look, I don't want to write about myself. It's so hard, you know, but then they start to justify it. I'm not worth it. I really don't have a story to tell. It's not going to really help me in any way. And they start to make excuses. And if you found yourself doing that in the past where you're so busy, don't want to do it, but it's really because it is uncomfortable for most people. Recognize that you're worth it. You've earned it. You do have a story to tell. You're doing amazing things. And, you've been so busy getting the ball to the other end of the court. You haven't really sat down and thought about it. And maybe it's just you need to work with someone who can sit down and listen and talk to you and really help articulate that story because there is one. There is one there. And if you'd like to learn more, you can visit my website. It's visionboardmedia.com or linkedin-makeover.com. And in both of those places, we do branding for executives, for entrepreneurs, for professionals all over the world.
Awesome, Donna. Thank you so much, folks. As always, we will link all that up in the show notes, which you can find at profitwithlaw.com. And we love you being here. We love our listeners tuning in. If this is your first time listening to the show, or your second or third, and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button in your podcast player so you get notified every time we release a new episode. We're doing that every single Thursday, coming to you with brand new content, amazing guests just like Donna. We're excited to share her as well as everyone else that we bring to you with you. And we're excited. Actually, I'm recording this on December 19th. You're going to be listening to this well into 2024. But I'm going to say this. We're really putting an effort into making this podcast your one go-to resource for 2024. And we are going to be bringing you the latest and greatest knowledge and amazing skill sets that are out there. My team is going out and finding those people and just pulling them, kicking and screaming here into this room so we can interview them for you. Actually, most of them are very, very happy to come and get in this room with us. But really, really excited for what we have on deck for 2024. And we also have a ton of amazing programming that's going to be happening at Profit with Law. So we want to make sure that you bookmark our website, profitwithlaw.com. Check it out. It's also just been redone. So if you're thinking about doing business with us, here's the long and short of it. We help law firm owners create massive profitability in their business, but profit off of $100,000 is not going to be exciting to you. Profit off of $1 million, when you're at 40%, that gets exciting. Profit off of 5 million at 40%, that gets exciting, right? So if you're not achieving profitability of 40% or greater, or your revenue is so low that that percentage doesn't excite you, then we need to talk. And my team is standing by to speak with you. You can just go to, how to work with us on our website and book a call, and we can see where you fit. But basically, we've got everything that covers you all the way until 10 million. So if your revenue is 300,000 or less, we've got programs that you can go through, teach yourself how to take the next step and move forward. If you're between 300,000 and $1 million, we've got a coaching program that will guide you through the process of traversing from that solo 300,000 mark to that having a team, $1 million revenue and 40% profitability. Okay, I want you to be earning $400,000 on that million. And beyond that, we have fractional CFO services. We will work with your firm to help you with KPIs and team incentives, all kinds of things like that, setting your budget, setting your objectives, and figuring out how to traverse from that 7 to 8 figure mark without giving up on that profitability. So if any of this excites you or it interests you, you want to go to profitwithlaw.com, book a call with our team, and let's start talking about it. Donna, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. Really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about LinkedIn. I'm excited. I'm actually going to go and make some massive changes here internally. We're going to focus more on our team's presence. So we're going to start making sure that our team members' profiles are all up to snuff and have them each have a strategy for starting to build relationships and spread the wealth. Right. And then see if we can't get more visibility for our team. I'm super excited about what our possibilities are for LinkedIn. And I'm happy you've been here because has really given me some things for us to try and see if we can make a big difference as far as what LinkedIn is doing for our business in 2024. Thank you so much, folks. Take care. We will catch you on the very next episode of Profit with Law here on your favorite podcast player.